I submitted the information is actionable and sufficient in my mind. So therefore, when you send me to a C&P exam, I don't think I need to go because what I submitted to you was actionable sufficient in my mind.
So you may think that you submitted sufficient information and you may be close.
Mm.
But again, since you're not making the total decision, it's not you who decides whether it's sufficient.
Open ranks, march!
So let's check out CFR 3.326 talks about examinations. Where there is a claim for disability compensation or pension, but medical evidence accompanying the claim is not adequate, keyword adequate, for rating purposes, a Department of Veterans Affairs examination will be authorized. This paragraph applies to original and supplemental claims, as well as claims for increase submitted by a veteran, surviving spouse, parent, or child. Individuals for whom an examination has been scheduled are required to report for the examination.
Basically, the question comes up is what is actionable? What is considered sufficient, and who makes the determination? Okay. Now, a lot of the problem we have is that a lot of veterans go, well, I sent them this, or I have this in my records, or well, again, they're making a determination, but they're not the ones who make the final determination. The M21 and the CFR 38 are primarily a Bible and guidelines for the raters, the people that are actually going to make the decisions. 3.326, paragraph B.
Provided it was otherwise adequate, keyword is adequate, for rating purposes, any hospital report or any examination report from any government or private institution may be accepted for rating a claim without further examination.
Who has to make that determination? Well, the person that's got to make the rating decision, because they're the ones who are going to make sure they apply these rules adequately. So you may think it's adequate. I think it's adequate. I sent them this, and the rater's going, well, but you didn't answer this question. I've gone through where I've read through the decision letters, and of course, you ask somebody if they read the letter, and they go, "Oh yeah, I read it." Well, did they? Because they missed part of it. If you have a C&P exam that is not adequate, the rater then has to ask for a medical opinion because we are not qualified to make a diagnosis. We can take a diagnosis and then apply it to the CFR, but I don't prescribe medication or any of that other stuff. Again, it's the determination is, do I have enough to substantiate the decision that I make when I'm rating a claim?
So here's the story, right? I reviewed my own record. I looked at it. I believe that it's actionable and sufficient because I got a DBQ. I got a nexus statement from a PA or a doctor. And then they say is more likely than not that this disease or this disorder came from my active duty service. So in my mind, that's actionable and sufficient. I'm going to submit it to the VA. So you then have to make the determination if it's actionable and sufficient. How do you go through that process?
Service officers and certified claims agents may not have gone through the rating process. They have some guidelines, they have some rules to follow, and I'm not saying that they're not privy to a lot of it, but until you've actually sat down, and that's why it takes 3 years from a rater to go from an apprentice to a journeyman level. Okay, because over that time period, you will have had the experience of rating claims. Now, to keep in mind, at the same time, even the raters who've been doing this for decades have to go through a quality review. Because there are changes, there's all kinds of reasons. Again, who makes that determination is the rater himself, whether there is sufficient information or is there some piece of the pie, piece of the puzzle that's missing. So you may think that you submitted sufficient information and you may be close. But again, since you're not making the total decision, it's not you who decides whether it's sufficient. Now, the VA does have what they call an ACE review, which is basically it's a paper review. And if there is sufficient information, then they don't have to schedule a C&P exam. But again, also sometimes to support our decision, it's good to have what the C&P doctor has to say. So I filed for irritable bowel syndrome.
Okay.
And I kept getting denied. I'm going, how the hell can they deny me? I mean, I've had 40 or 50 complaints where I went to the doctor to be treated for excessive diarrhea or constipation or abdominal pain, cramping and all this other stuff. Sounds like IBS, right? They did an upper and lower GI series. There was all kinds of testing, all kinds of information in my records. Okay. I wrote a statement to the fact. And they kept denying me. Well, I'm like, okay, this is the sufficient information that I have. I even have buddy statements from 4 or 5 people, but obviously the VA kept denying me, and I kept going, why? Well, then when I took my evidence to my primary care doctor, he went through my records and he says, oh, well, here's the problem. They diagnosed you with disruptive bowel disorder, which is not a recognized diagnosis. And he actually said in his letter, the disruptive bowel disorder is the same as irritable bowel syndrome. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, so we needed, based on what the raters saw, and even acknowledged that, yes, you have irritable bowel syndrome, but it's not service connected. Okay, so now I go to the doctor, like I said, primary care, with my information, and he writes me a nexus letter.
Got it.
And he tied together what, to me, I saw a connection between the lovely procedures of using the barium and all that other stuff.
Swallow. Yeah.
I mean, having to go through all that stuff, there was no doubt in my mind it was because of my irritable bowel syndrome. So when I sent all my package with my nexus letter, they gave me my irritable bowel syndrome and backdated it quite a few years.
Did you have to go to a C&P exam?
Yeah, I went to the C&P exam. There were questions that were brought up. Okay. Is my primary care being accurate? Before, obviously, because I have a history of applying for this, sending new information, getting denied, applying more information, getting denied. It's like, okay, is this guy just, barking up the wrong tree, or is there any connecting all the dots back to going in because, I'm having diarrhea. Oh, and I was throwing up at the time too. So is it the flu or is this irritable bowel syndrome? Which are two different things,
Gotcha.
So went to the C&P exam. The doctor reviewed all the evidence, including my primary care provider, and basically wrote the DBQ, the C&P exam report, stating that, this all ties in and it's all valid. Okay, so now the rater is comfortable in making the determination that, yes, What you're experiencing today is what you happened 20 years ago.
Got it.
Okay. And you know, hearing could be the same thing. You got a guy in a field artillery unit, man, he's going to have hearing loss.
Got you.
But he also, once he got out, went hunting. And since he's already got a hearing loss, you know, who cares about wearing hearing protection? Because you got to be able to hear when the deer's moving around. So which is it that happened? Being on the artillery unit or the hunting?
So see that, and that gives me that brings up a lot of good insight.
Close ranks, march!